Toward the close of the 14th century, a marked religious revival extended over Europe. Perhaps men's sufferings had caused it. Many sects of reformers appeared, protesting sometimes against the discipline, sometimes the doctrines, of the Church. In England, Wycliffe produced the first translation of the Bible into English. The popes in Avignon shook off the hold of their French hosts and returned to Rome, where we are told there were scarcely 10,000 inhabitants living in the Eternal City. Unfortunately, this return only led the papacy into still deeper troubles. Several of the cardinals refused to recognize the Roman Pope and elected another, who returned to Avignon. This was the beginning of the Great Schism in the Church. For 40 years, there were 2, sometimes 3 Clements to the papal chair. The effect of their struggles was naturally to lessen still further that solemn veneration with which men had once looked up to the accepted vicegerent of God on earth. Hitherto, the revolt against the popes had only assailed their political supremacy. But now heresies that included complete denial of the religious authority of the Church began everywhere to arise. In England, Wycliffe's preachings and pamphlets grew more and more opposed to Roman doctrine. In Bohemia, John Huss not only said, as all men did, that the Church needed reform, but going further, he refused obedience to papal commands. In short, the reformers, finding themselves unable to purify the Roman Church according to their views, began to deny its sacredness and defy its power. At length, an unusually energetic, though not over-successful emperor, Sigismund, whom the Turks had defeated at Nicopolis, persuaded the leaders of the Church to unite with him in calling a grand council at Constance. This council ended the Great Schism and restored order to the Church by securing the rule of a single pope. It also burned John Huss as a heretic, and thereby left on Sigismund's hands a fierce rebellion among the reformers' Bohemian followers. The war lasted for a generation, and during its course all the armies of Germany were repeatedly defeated by the fanatic Hussites. Another interesting performance of the Emperor Sigismund was that, being deep in debt, he sold his electorate of Brandenburg to a friend, a Hohenzollern, and thus established as one of the 4 chief families of the empire those Hohenzollerns who rose to be kings of Prussia, and in the early 20th century supplanted the Habsburgs as emperors of Germany. Also worth noting of Sigismund is the fact that during the sitting of his Council of Constance, he made a tour of Europe to persuade all the princes and various potentates to join it. When he reached England, he was met by a band of Englishmen who waded into the sea to demand whether by his imperial visit he meant to assert any supremacy over England. Sigismund assured them he did not and was allowed to land. We may look to this English parade of independence as our last reminder of the old medieval conception of the emperor as being, at least in theory, the overlord of the whole of Europe.